Welcome to episode 35 of Crab Inc. My name is Alan Predolin, and today I want to handle the phone call procedure. Now, so much, we've been going very deep into our stats, and I'm trying to, the more I work with statistics, the more I'm trying to figure out what can I improve in little areas. And it's almost like with training, and I always relate it to training because at the end of the day, we are trainers, we are practitioners, we're school owners. I think it's much easier sometimes to relate it to what we know. I know fighting, and I like to relate it to that, even when it comes to the business. So I'm really focusing on breaking down the aspects of our sales process, our follow-up process, and so on, to be able to really make small improvements in little areas that automatically will also amount to big improvements. Now, one of the biggest parts that I'm trying to focus on with Abel, that is actually my main salesperson, is the phone call procedure. Phone call procedure because unfortunately right now it's so easy to contact us and it's so impersonal to contact us via website, Facebook, Instagram, Reddit. I mean, there's so many different ways that somebody can contact us, and it becomes very impersonal. It's very safe. It's easy for people to contact us. I mean, we're still getting, just from the website, about 100 people per month that contact us via email. That's a lot of people, for us at least. I mean, I'm sure that for some businesses. But right now, I'm planning on I want to really figure out the best way for us to handle those leads and actually make them into prospects. Because until they're just leads, until it's just somebody sending in emails at 2 o'clock in the morning, or they're just messing around because they can't sleep on the internet, or just an impulse over the phone, somebody told them, whatever, it's very difficult to turn them into a real prospect. Okay, so it's very important to kind of make that step. When the person becomes a prospect for me is when we actually connected with that person and they are true, and we kind of determine for both of our parties, both us and them, that they will be a good fit we will be a good fit for each other. We're not always going to be a good fit for each other. This podcast is not about you tricking people into signing up. This podcast is about us figuring out the best way to recruit the people that we know will be a great fit for the school, that want to be able to train, because otherwise then we're going to have different problems with retention, with overall school community and the community built around your facility and so on, because it's going to be it's not going to be what you want. How about that? And also, those people are also the people that don't stick around. Now, if you work at 24 Hour Fitness or one of these places, they're looking for numbers, and it's a little bit more like a wide net. But we want to be very specific. We are still a niche market. We're still a market that is not for everybody. Everybody can do Krav Maga, but not everybody should, and not everybody can. Ultimately, a certain person has to be primed for that. I don't like convincing people. I like setting up also our marketing in a way that it kind of, obviously, we put our face in front of people that are already looking for it. But then our goal is to be able to understand who we're talking to and being able to convert those people from, like I said, leads, from kind of very impersonal leads still, to an actual prospect for the school, a prospective student. Now, one of the areas that we're really focusing on, Abel and I, and also I'm focusing on with some of the school owners that I work with, is the phone call procedure and the follow-up procedure. Now, that is huge because for us, unfortunately, we're still at about 50%, as far as our stats and our show rate or our appointment to lead, our lead to prospect to appointment to actual sign up. And as I try to figure out with my particular school where to invest the money when it comes to marketing, I want to first and foremost figure out the process that allows me to really gauge or really make an educated decision on how much I want to spend on marketing and what the return is going to be. Too many people focus on the marketing side, and they don't realize that if you don't have certain steps in place, you'll get more leads, but that doesn't mean that you'll get more members. And so I encourage you, like I said, I'm really focusing right now on the phone call, because the phone call, even if somebody emails you, you want to be able to make a phone call. You want to make sure that you contact that person, they hear your voice, you understand more of why they contact you in the first place, and then set them up with a class. Even though we're in an era of smartphones and emails and whatever else, or social media, making a phone call is still very, very important. And if you just rely yourself on what's easy, the same reason it's easy for them to email you and keep it impersonal, and it's easy for you to do the same, but you know what? You're not going to have anybody show up, or you're going to have the wrong people show up. So, phone call procedure. At this point, I try to work a role playing as much as possible. I see that not only it helps me organize thoughts in my mind, but it also helps my staff. When it comes to the phone call, I know it's a little bit silly right now. But you have to get over that hump. If you're there with a funny smirk, and it's pretty normal. I can't tell you how many times I've seen it. It honestly gets it on my nerves, because it's the same thing as you're a beginner students coming to class and you're trying to teach them punches, and they start having that same smirk because they're nervous and uncomfortable. Okay, so ultimately, we got to get over that. You have to decide, do you want to have a solid program or not? Because you are the instructor. The buck stops with you. You have the responsibility of answering questions and produce memberships and retain members. But it all starts on that first contact, and then we build from there. So phone call procedure, very important. Most people call and ask two things. They ask pricing and they ask schedule. Why? Because that's the only thing they know how to ask. You'll get the random person that tells you the story of God knows what. But the reality is that most people will talk about schedule and money, because that is the only thing that they know. Okay? So it's very important, if you don't want to focus on those two, specifically on the money-wise, because that's always something like a touchy subject. Do we give, a price of memberships or so on over the phone or online? That's another issue. We'll talk about it afterwards. But I want you to feel that it's very important to kind of direct the conversations. So, if you are answering the phone or you're calling the person back, like in most cases for us, we're getting basically zero phone calls. Everything comes in through the website, and then we call them back right away. We even have a system in which when they call us or when they contact us, automatically our website will send us, will call us saying, hey, Alan just requested some information. You want to be connected with them right now? And it kind of connects us during business hours. So that's great, okay? It's important how you answer. It's important that you ask questions, because, again, you're trying to get that person, you're trying to find out why that person contacted you, and you're trying to direct the conversation on the value side, not on the, you're not confirming, you're not a receptionist at a doctor's office just confirming an appointment. I want you to feel somebody, you know your stuff, you know your school, you know your classes, you know, depending on where you teach, you know your environment, you know what you want to emphasize, you know who's around you. So first ask some questions. So when you start the phone call, hi, my name is Alan. I'm calling from 360 Krav Maga. I'm the owner of the school. I saw your inquiry online. I just wanted to follow up with you and kind of give you some information. But first, let me ask you some questions. Have you trained before? And that's when you can go and kind of direct them more on why they're calling you. Why are you calling us? And they'll say, oh, self-defense, fitness, whatever. And, oh, have you trained before? Because that's going to also dictate a couple of things. When you ask if the person has trained before, it's not as much about the training itself. It's also about the fact that it allows you to understand what is going to be their term of comparison, especially when it comes to money and other things, and the expectations that they put on that. Sometimes it'll be, oh, I've trained, and I always ask them, do you train anything? Not just martial arts. Have you also do fitness? Are you an active person? Sometimes they'll say yes, sometimes no. Sometimes I've done CrossFit, sometimes Jiu-Jitsu, sometimes karate when I was 6. But it's important to really be interested, because realistically, it tells us all about the person. One, it tells us if they're physical and what they're looking for and what kind of triggers them. If somebody tells me, yeah, I've been doing CrossFit for 5 years, I can see two things. One, they're used to spending at least $200 a month in training, so they understand the value of good training, so that's great. Two, they already understand being part of a community and the working hard part. So they're already probably fit already, or they're already fit. And like I said, it's just a little bit easier to kind of direct the conversation, because then our class becomes more, we're not going to be able to replace CrossFit. We'll get the person in shape, but our goal becomes more to enhance their fitness skills that they acquire over the past 5 years. It's like, Chris, listen, it's great you've done CrossFit. Our awesome thing is that, with CrossFit, everything's about functional fitness. We really try to take that functional fitness to the next level. We're actually teaching people what to do with that functional fitness. Some people will still, keep training outside of the school and fitness. But I tell you, our classes are kick-ass. They're awesome. They'll push your cardio, they'll push your strength. We're still working some of the same aspects, but we're really putting it in the ultimate functional training. We're putting it in a self-defense, and in some cases, if it's appropriate, if you feel the person can handle it, the fighting. You'll see that when you start pushing the value of your school and your classes, the conversation will drift away from the schedule. Then the schedule becomes matter of fact. But you have to ask questions, and you have to also elaborate on those questions. Now, sometimes you hear about building rapport and so on. I honestly think, I'm an instructor. I'm not a used car salesman. I'm not trying to find a hook for that person to come in. They contacted me. This is not somebody, a car, everybody needs a car. But self-defense and Krav Maga in our classes are a choice. And that person made that choice to contact us and request information. So again, my name is Alan. Right? What is your name? I'm looking for this person. Okay. So, and then you start going into questions. Ask, what is it turning you on to our website and stuff? What are you specifically looking for from our classes? And in most cases, they'll tell you. Okay. Because otherwise you'll start talking about something else. I would like to lose some weight and do something different or whatever else. Okay. That's great. And then again, agree with them, because we have a lot of people that have the same goals. They said 95% of the phone calls will be very similar to each other. It's just the way it is. Okay. So now all of a sudden somebody tells you for fitness, like, okay, so we have a lot of people just like you that come in because they're just sick of going to the regular gym and they want to do something different. And then start going out. Okay, have you trained before? Then you start into the training side. By the way, even before, if you have a kids program, because some of the schools don't, are you calling for yourself or are you calling for somebody else, like your son, your daughter, whatever else? So make sure that you understand, because the other day we had a phone call in which Abel forgot to ask, and he went off on his spiel, and then it turned out that it was for a 9-year-old. Okay, so those are the things that are a problem, because you just talk for 3 minutes or 5 minutes, and then before you know it, you realize that you talked about the wrong thing. Okay, so that's what I said about asking questions. Okay, so are you looking for yourself? Have you trained before? Has Johnny trained before? And so on. Now, when you go to the appointment, don't be too abrupt when you're asking the questions and just like, okay, let me get you scheduled. That doesn't work like that. The person has not built that connection yet. Okay, so again, you can schedule the appointment, and you can guide the conversation that goes in there, but just be careful in having everything in little chapters. So again, okay, the person calls, we talk, or we call them to confirm, the request of the online request. We call them, we ask, if it's for them or for their son. And then we ask, what is their primary goal from training? Again, if it's for themselves, whatever it is, we elaborate on that a little bit without going too crazy. Then we go, have you trained before? And then from there, okay, this is our program. Our Krav Maga classes are awesome. In most cases, we kind of relate. The cool thing about Krav Maga, they were very broad also as far as the spectrum of people. Some people do it for self-defense and end up with fitness, and vice versa. So it's very pliable to the person. If somebody tells you want to fight in the UFC, you better have a UFC school or an MMA school in your Rolodex, in your contacts that you can refer them then, because that sometimes will win you more points than trying to steer the person into your school. You're just not an MMA school. That's just the way it is. Okay, or jiu-jitsu or whatever else. Now, you can figure out why they're looking for that place and if that place really fits their needs, because a lot of times people ask us, like, what is the difference between you and what is the difference between Krav Maga and mixed martial arts or jiu-jitsu? In most cases, I like to keep the competitive aspect on, and I really try to make it where, listen, I love jiu-jitsu, I love MMA, but anytime you do something like that, you have to think about it, what the ultimate objective is. Now, are you planning on fighting in the UFC? And in most cases, the person will start laughing. Okay, that's 9 times out of 10. It's like, no, of course, But then, I can tell you that we will cover a lot of those aspects. We're always very conscious of the fact, where is Alan, and you can use their name, going to use this information? How can we make the most impact? I want to make sure that if I have a woman training with me, she's going to get what she needs for whatever else that she's looking for. We should know already from the previous questions. So that now all of a sudden the price becomes irrelevant, okay? Because you just built a little bit the building blocks where it's obviously the person, if they can or cannot afford it, that's another issue. But it's very important to steer the conversation in a way that, again, points at the value of your school, not just, I come in and try a class. When? I don't know. I have a class tomorrow. Okay, you can't do that, okay? So again, ask us for them as for their child. Ask them what is the primary objective from the training. What are they looking for? Why are they looking into a school? Ask them if they have previous experience and elaborate on any of them, and then start talking about, give a couple of specific options on when they can come in. Now, if you want to put them into your classes, already know that, okay, today is Monday. I already know that, or what is today? Wednesday. I already know that we have a 5 p.m. and a 7 p.m. for level 1, okay? So I'm going to try to get them in today if I can, and see if they can make it. Can you make today? What is your schedule like for tonight? I get off work after 5. But listen, it's great. We have a 7 p.m. class, and by the way, I'm going to be there too. So when you come in, I'm not going to be teaching the class. I have Kyle, that is one of my awesome black belts. He's a second-degree black belt. He's been with me for 11 years. He's going to be teaching the level 1. Everybody in that class is with less than 3 months of experience. This becomes especially important if the person has no experience, like 90% of our students that call. So you have to reinforce. You already know that people are intimidated. So make sure you enforce what class you're putting them in, who is teaching it, that you're going to be there, who's going to be in the class, what skills are going to be covered. Because in most cases, people feel intimidated about going in because they don't know. So they're worried about being in a new environment that is going to challenge what they don't know, and it's going to make them feel bad. And that's not our goal. So when you go into that process, just say specifically, I think it's too tight, 7 o'clock. I can only do tomorrow. Listen, tomorrow I have 6 p.m. Since you said that you finished it up, will that work? Yes. I'll be there. I'll be teaching on the other side. I'm teaching level 2. But please, let's meet. When you come in, I'll have Abel make sure that we introduce each other, so I can introduce you to Kyle or to Vic. He's another one, my instructor, and so on. But make it personal, so the person knows already the name of the people. They know who they are, what they know, what the class is about. The fewer surprises you have, the better it is. Then finally go into the appointment. Now, I would advise you, in combination to the phone call, to also have an email already set up that you can send and say, listen, Alan, 2 things. One, I'm going to send you an email right now that has our address, that has a couple of things to know. For example, if they need shoes, they don't need shoes, if you want to bring in water, whatever. But realistically, it's another point of contact. You can send them also your schedule if you want to, so the schedule of classes, so it's already set up. In some cases, some places have a virtual waiver you can have and sign even before, if you would like. That's up to you. But then tell them right away, say, listen, I send you it right now, so you should have it, right now. Also, is this the best number to reach? Is this your cell phone number? Would you mind if I sent you a confirmation text so I don't have to call you tomorrow just to confirm your 6 o'clock appointment? Okay? No, of course not, blah, 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 blah. Good. Then go into, okay, great. Listen, I'll send you an email. Just remember, tomorrow at 6 o'clock, you can even put it on their email that you're sending out. I look forward to seeing you. If there's a problem, please feel free to call me here at the school. Or, you can also reply to the text that I'm going to send you tomorrow, just letting me know if there's a problem. We really look forward to, on having you. It's going to be great, and go to that. Stop. Okay? But it's very important to practice. Every time I practice doing either role, by the way, I get something out of it. Every time. If you have a staff member, if you're an instructor that is not there and you know that your instructors are answering the phone, set up a secret shopper. See what they do. Two things that you'll be surprised of. One, people call, and in some cases, there'll be no trace of it. Nobody knows, nobody's going to tell you that somebody called, and nobody's going to put down their number. Because especially if the person is asking some quick information, is leading the conversation from the other side of the line, in most cases, you're never going to have your opening to even ask for a contact, okay? Two, you'll be surprised what they say. So, and again, it goes back to training, anything we do. If I go out, if one of your students goes out and gets massacred, every time they spar, are you going to coach them on being better, or are you just going to let them get massacred? Because right now, every time you're doing a bad phone call, it's costing you X amount, depending on your student value. Let's say $2,000 a year, okay? So if you think about it, you get 20 phone calls or 10 phone calls, and make it easy so for my math, because that's not my strong suit, but 10 phone calls per month even, okay? That's $20,000. Even if you can convert half of them, now all of a sudden you're talking at $10,000. I mean, you have to look at it that way. Now it's for 12 months, that's $120,000. Now, it might be that you get a lot more phone calls, a lot more email, and you're talking just a percentage. But if you can even get 5 more people per month because your phone call procedure gets better, and obviously your follow-up is better that we just did last time, and your closing procedure is better, and your teaching is better, and all those aspects fall into place like they're supposed to, now you're in business. Because even 5 people extra that you're doing, or 5 people per month, is still 60 people per year. At an average of 150 people, I mean, you're still, that means that in 2 years you'll have 120 students. Now, strangely enough, okay, most schools that I know, even with over 3 years, have not broken 100. Have not broken 100. So how does that work? I know they're getting some leads. The problem is, like I said, try to focus on as soon as a person makes contact with you via email or they call you or whatever, that side of it has to be down because it's always the same one. There's no reason to be unprepared when it's always the same conversation. Okay? Now, a couple of things that I wanted to say. One, active network. Get active. If you are IKM, IKMF, KMG, KME, KM whatever, I don't care, okay? Join our network. Our network is awesome. We have great people in it from any kind of organizations. We have people from Alliance, we have people from Worldwide, we have people from KMG and other organizations. Some of them works under the table a little bit because they're a little bit worried of retaliation. But if your organization is open, my goal is not to limit your training. If you love your organization, I think it's great. My goal is to make sure that, if anything, the investment that you make with those organizations is worth your while and your money. Because unfortunately, just going through a course of God knows what with whoever from Israel, from wherever else, is not going to help you with your school. So my goal is to make sure, that you are always on a path, on a certain trajectory with your skills, with your training, with your student training, with your school performance, that allows you to get to the best level possible. But it's not either or. This narrative where if you're part of an organization, you cannot be on a network or something else, I think it's crazy. Most people teach something similar. So your pluck is X instead of Z. I don't care. Pluck however you want to, okay? But in most cases is how the information is delivered. How do we learn? Because in most courses, it will teach you the class. It's like, I always make the example of cooking. I can buy the same ingredient of a great chef. It doesn't make me a great chef. I mean, the ingredients usually are not, it's how you cook them, how you put them together, how you marry the different ingredients to make a great recipe, okay? So it's the recipe that we're trying to develop. The ingredients, you have them, that's great, that's a given. You're supposed to know your stuff from the front. Now, if you're not good, you come to training, there might be, you might have even more of an incentive to grow. But it's very important that you look at the recipe. Right now, these organizations are giving you some ingredients, not all of them, some ingredients. They give you some techniques, they give you a couple of drills, they give you a little bit of format, and that's great. But that does not make you a chef. My goal is to make sure that we grow together, because the better you become, the better I'm going to become, the better everybody else is going to become around us. And as a system, we'll grow to a different level. But it's very important, like I said, that we surround ourselves with people that also maintain a certain openness. I love when there are people from different groups, because we all learn from each other. 90% of the masterclass that I teach are not about how to do the plucking or the choking or whatever. It's more of a training methodology. Like the next week, we're going to have on June 9th a masterclass. It's going to have 3 components. Okay, it's going to have stand-up. It's going to have ground and takedown defenses. Okay, and it's going to have weapons. Okay, my level 2 right now is set up in 4 components. I have stand-up, ground, takedowns and takedown defenses, and weapons. Those are the 4 components that I'm structuring my intermediate and advanced level. Now, the cool thing is not set in stone. I want to make sure that we're covering certain areas. I love meeting new people. I love people that are coming in to train. I also want you to feel like if you want to be at a certain level, I want you to feel like you're surrounding yourself with people at a certain level. We're having tremendous schools that even business-wise are just unbelievable. We have quite a few schools that are over 200 and a ton of schools that are over 100. Okay, so very strong programs, very good programs. There are a lot of programs that are not doing well, and we're not one of them. Okay, so usually, like I said, it's you will see people not doing well, and they don't do well with their training, they don't do well with their business, they don't do well with their attitude, So being lazy is not an excuse. So this podcast is just kind of, if you're listening to this, there's a good chance that you're not one of them, because trust me, most people complain and do nothing about it. If you're listening to this podcast, so that's for the Active Network. You see there's 2 sides of it. You can do the student one, and you can do the coaches one. The coaches one just gives you a little bit more access online, and we're setting up a database of coaches and instructors that will be posted on there. There's also the official training center. That's more for brown and black belts. We want you to feel that, again, you get a little bit more support. Like I said, plenty of ways to get involved, but just come and train. It'll be great to meet you and to train together and kind of keep growing together. Also, if you like these podcasts and you follow them, I need a huge favor. Go either on Spreaker.com, that it's one of our main portal, or on iTunes, and leave us a great review. I want us to be able to bring in guests and do also some different things with the classes. But honestly, I don't plug anything. We don't make any money from this. My only goal is to make sure that we improve our system, improve our industry, and allow us to really thrive in the years to come. So if you like this podcast, and please be a supporter, and no money, I don't care for money. I just want us to be able to have a bigger reach and help more people. So I really appreciate if you took 5 minutes and went on iTunes or Spreaker and leave us a review. A good one, ideally, but a bad one, if you don't like it, just send me a message too. Okay, you can reach me at alan@360kravmaga.com. You can follow me on Instagram at 360alan. On Facebook, I'm everywhere. Send me a message. You have a question about something, you don't agree with something, just let me know. I'm here. Okay, I'll see you next time.